Saburo Sakai, a name that echoes through the history of aviation. A pilot whose life is defined by unmatched skill, unbreakable endurance, and a warrior spirit that refused to fade, even in the darkest moments of World War II. Saburo Sakai was born into a poor farming family in 1916. At a young age, he learned discipline, hardship, and the value of relentless work. But he also carried a dream of flight. At 16, he joined the Japanese Navy, not knowing that this decision would turn him into one of the most respected fighter pilots of the entire Pacific War. Sakai's combat journey began in the late 1930s, when he flew the A-5M fighter over China. It was here that he developed his lightning-fast decision-making, his ability to track enemies at impossible angles, and his instinctive understanding of aerial combat. These early battles shaped him into the pilot he would later become, precise, fearless, and incredibly adaptable. But everything changed when he transitioned to the Mitsubishi A6M0. The Zero was light, agile, and deadly in the early stages of the war. In the hands of a pilot like Sakai, it became a surgical weapon. He flew missions during the attack on Pearl Harbor. He chased American fighters over the Philippines. He engaged in desperate dogfights over Guadalcanal and New Britain. And in each encounter, he showed a mastery of flight that made him one of Japan's most celebrated aces. His kills, officially listed as 28, but believed today to be around 15, were earned in brutal, chaotic aerial battles. Victories measured in seconds. Survival measured in milliseconds. But numbers alone cannot capture Saburo Sakai's story. To understand his legacy, you must understand what happened on August 7, 1942. During a mission over Guadalcanal, Sakai encountered a formation of American aircraft. In the fierce battle that followed, he misidentified one of the planes, a mistake that nearly cost him his life. A burst of machine gun fire ripped through his cockpit. Shrapnel tore into his face. His right eye was destroyed instantly. Blood filled his mouth, his throat, his lungs. The pain was overwhelming. Most pilots would have died within minutes. Most would have lost control. Most would have accepted the end. But Saburo Sakai refused. Blinded in one eye, half-conscious and struggling to breathe, he turned his Zero homeward. He could barely see the instruments. He drifted in and out of awareness. His world was spinning, darkening, collapsing. And yet, he flew for nearly 1,000 kilometers over open ocean, through turbulence, through pain. Sakai manually controlled his damaged plane. He relied on memory, instinct, and sheer willpower. It became one of the most astonishing survival flights in the history of war. When he finally landed, he was so severely injured that doctors believed he would never fly again. But Saburo Sakai returned, not because he was ordered to, but because he believed it was his duty. With only one functioning eye and a face still scarred from shrapnel, he once again took to the skies. He continued escort missions. He flew protective patrols. He defended his comrades. He pushed himself far beyond what anyone thought humanly possible. However, as the war dragged on, times changed. The Allies introduced new aircraft, the F-6F Hellcat and the F-4U Corsair. These planes were faster, tougher, and far better armed than the Zero. Their armor could absorb hits that would tear a Japanese fighter apart. Their pilots used new tactics designed specifically to counter the Zero's agility. Sakai knew the tide had turned. He often spoke about the things Japan lacked: advanced technology, radar networks, better communication systems, and aircraft capable of matching the rapid improvements coming from the United States. He fought enemies who overwhelmed him in numbers, firepower, and technology. Yet he continued to fly. He continued to survive. And he continued to earn the respect of those who faced him in battle, even those on the opposite side. When the war finally ended, Sakai's life took a dramatic turn. He refused to let hatred guide him. Instead, he embraced peace. He met former enemies with respect. He spoke honestly about the brutal realities of combat. And he became a symbol of reflection, an ace who saw the cost of war firsthand and chose to dedicate the rest of his life to peace and understanding. His autobiography, Samurai, remains one of the most vivid personal accounts of aerial combat ever written. It captures the thrill of dogfights, the agony of injury, and the emotional devastation of watching friends fall one by one. Saburo Sakai lived until the year 2000, and even in his final years, he carried the perspective of a man who had witnessed both the glory and the tragedy of war. Today, he is remembered not only as a pilot, not only as an ace, but as a human being who endured the unimaginable, survived the impossible, and spent the rest of his life trying to understand it. Saburo Sakai's story is more than military history. It is a testament to endurance, to discipline, to the resilience of the human spirit, and to the heavy cost of a war fought in the skies above the Pacific.